What if I told you? Star Wars might be heading back to theaters, but in a way that could quietly change the soul of the franchise. Because a new insider report just revealed Lucasfilm's future movie strategy. And honestly, it's making a lot of fans nervous. By the time The Mandalorian and Grogu hit cinemas in May 2026, almost 7 years will have passed since the last Star Wars movie, The Rise of Skywalker. 7 years. That is the same kind of gap Star Wars had before Disney even bought Lucasfilm. Now, Lucasfilm clearly wants Star Wars back on the big screen. After The Mandalorian and Grogu, another movie called Star Wars: Starfighter, directed by Shawn Levy, is already lined up for May 2027. At the same time, big names like James Mangold, Taika Waititi, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy and Simon Kinberg are all developing their own Star Wars films. But here's where everything changes. Kathleen Kennedy, the longtime president of Lucasfilm, has officially stepped down. And now, the studio is being led by Dave Filoni and Lynwen Brennan. According to a new report from The Hollywood Reporter, Lucasfilm is planning a fundamental change in how Star Wars movies will be developed. And this change could seriously affect creative freedom. Under Kathleen Kennedy, the process was very simple. She would meet a filmmaker and ask one important question. What story do you want to tell? That is exactly how projects like Starfighter were born, completely standalone stories, created from a director's personal vision, not from a studio master plan. Last year, Kennedy herself confirmed that she wanted filmmakers to tell stories that mattered to them, and that Star Wars did not need to connect every new project to the franchise's massive history. But now, according to insiders, things may work very differently. Instead of filmmakers bringing their own ideas, Dave Filoni may decide first what stories should exist, and then bring directors in to execute those stories. That sounds small, but in reality,
wait for it,
it's a massive shift. Because Dave Filoni is not just a producer. He is a deeply creative storyteller, and the architect behind the Clone Wars, Rebels, and the entire Mandoverse alongside Jon Favreau. And that is exactly why this new strategy is raising concerns. Star Wars' next movie, The Mandalorian and Grogu, arrives on May 22, 2026, starring Pedro Pascal, Jeremy Allen White and Sigourney Weaver. It will continue the story of the Disney Plus series, and it has effectively replaced plans for The Mandalorian Season 4. But here's the bigger problem. Star Wars, as a franchise, has been struggling. There has been a long theatrical drought, and many recent Disney Plus shows received heavy backlash. And interestingly, right now, many fans seem more excited for Starfighter, a completely new story, than for The Mandalorian and Grogu. That tells us something important. Fans are hungry for fresh stories. Dave Filoni has absolutely earned his place in Star Wars history. The Clone Wars, Rebels, and his work on the Mandoverse proved that. But one of the biggest criticisms of The Mandalorian and Ahsoka has been their heavy reliance on existing characters and past lore. And if Filoni becomes the central creative voice for all upcoming movies, that problem could become even bigger. For a while, there was hope that Lucasfilm was moving away from tightly connected storytelling. Reports even suggested that Mandoverse plans were being paused, at least temporarily, before The Mandalorian and Grogu and Ahsoka Season 2. But now, new rumors claim that Lucasfilm is planning an entirely new post-Rise of Skywalker era, centered around Daisy Ridley's Rey, and building toward another massive crossover event. In other words, another shared universe, another interconnected saga, another long-term master plan. And this is where the real fear comes in. If Dave Filoni designs most of the future stories first, and filmmakers are only brought in to execute his vision, Star Wars risks becoming something very similar to the MCU. A tightly controlled franchise machine. And that could slowly drain the uniqueness and creative charm that made Star Wars special in the first place. There is also a serious question here. Lucasfilm recently attracted top-tier talent. Shawn Levy, Taika Waititi, James Mangold. These are filmmakers known for their personal style and creative identity. Would they still be as excited to join Star Wars? if their job is simply to follow someone else's long-term blueprint. Star Wars does not need more perfectly connected stories. It needs bold, strange, risky, and emotional ones. So yes, bringing Star Wars back to theaters is exciting. But how Lucasfilm chooses to tell these stories may matter even more than how many movies they release.